there, this is Sigrid from Your Best Life Starts Now. Welcome. It's great that you are watching again. And today I want to introduce you to actually a dear friend of mine as I interviewed her the last season. Her name is Dr. Jean Logan. She's a medical intuitive and she has written several best-selling books. Why I'm going to interview her today again is because I'm actually very fascinated by her work and I used her work. And it was actually amazing what happened because she sent me her book and we dive into what a glyph really is, but she sent me a book and what happened is that actually kind of miracles happened in a couple of weeks because some things blocking me just floated away kind of. But we will dive into this directly. So I want to introduce you to Jean. Welcome, Jean.
Thank you, Sigrid. I am so delighted to be with you today. And I'm delighted to share what I have with the world because I am guided. I'm a conscious channel. This is not something I was born with, but one day when I was meditating, I saw some writing like on a screen on a blackboard, and I felt it was telling me to try guided writing, which I did. And after I practiced it for a while, I was guided to be doing these glyphs that I'm doing. And by a glyph, I'm going to explain real quick. A glyph is a picture that has meaning to it. And I'm going to show you an example real quick. And I am guided to produce these glyphs in order to help people heal. Here's one. This is one on ancestral influences. So the glyph is a simple drawing that has meaning. And what happens with the glyphs, I empower them in a ceremony with the assistance of Source and with the multitude of archangels and Jesus and Mary. And I call in everybody to assist me to give power to these glyphs. And what I got them at the beginning, I was a very fearful person. Oh my goodness, I was so fearful as a child. And so I was guided to create a glyph that would remove fear from the body. And I used it. I went with the glyphs, I put them on my solar plexus and I could feel all this stuff coming out of me. And I never intended to write a book. I did not want to write a book. I would have been afraid to write a book. But I had so much emotional baggage. I was a real, what we call a basket case. I was just really a neurotic. And so I started creating, I was guided to create these glyphs, and I created one to remove fear and to remove anger. And I kept on, and I was, as my first husband was an alcoholic, I had a lot of anger in me. So there were a lot of sadness. And so I just kept on creating them. And I just did little 3x5 cards, and I just kept on, and I just was feeling better and better. But again, I did not intend to write a book. And so I got to where I had about a dozen glyphs that were to heal emotional issues. And then I created one to detoxify the body, and it will literally pull out all the heavy metals, aluminum, mercury. You could put one on your top of your crown chakra, and it would pull all the chemicals and heavy metals out of the brain. I'll put them under your liver. And I just kept on. And then I was getting, people would say, I'm getting a message, you're supposed to write a book. And I thought, no. Yes. And so finally they kept pushing me. And so I got my first book out, which was Unlocking the Power of Glyphs. That was the first one that came out. And so I thought, okay, that's it. I'm done. But the glyphs kept coming. I had a lot of physical issues as well. When you have a lot of emotional issues, they are the basis for the physical issues. And so I had heart problems. I had, you name it. I had so many problems. And so I started writing glyphs to heal myself. And he had serious heart problems, so much so that I would meet psychic friends and they say, I can tell you have a lot of problems with your heart. And I didn't want to believe that. And then a friend invited me to go to a sweat lodge. And my guide said, do not go because your heart cannot stand this. And I thought, whoa, I must have some serious problem. And I was getting a lot of chest pains that were very scary. So I wrote a glyph to heal the heart. And then I just kept on. I would want to heal the lungs. And it just seemed like I would get something if I wrote one to heal damaged bones. And when we have an injury, I wrote one to heal the bones, and other medical problems. And so as I continued on with the second book, I wrote a glyph for every organ and gland in the body. And then I was guided to write one. We have a thing now with a battle going on about vaccinations. And so I wrote a glyph, or was guided to write. These are not my glyphs. These come from God, but this will remove the vaccination from the body and will help repair the damage that has been done by the vaccination. And some of them do terrible things if the child is still alive. I mean, because over here we've had a terrible amount of children that have been damaged by vaccinations, really terrible. And of course, they don't talk about it because they're controlling things. And then one to heal the eyes. This glyph healed my ex-husband of cataracts and glaucoma.
Wow.
And even he wrote me a few months ago where he said, well, after 10 years, my eyes are still perfect. I have no problem with pressure in my eyes. So even after 10 years, and there is no known cure for glaucoma.
No, because when I use them, I actually use these very physical ones, but more the emotional ones, but it really shifted tremendously. I couldn't believe it because I went to bed and I used to put them on me and actually underneath my pillow. I don't know if that was the right way, but it felt right. And just the next day, it felt like as if I was like detoxing, basically. I can't explain it any other way. And within a couple of weeks, things just started changing. Like it wasn't there anymore. Certain pains,
Right.
or aches, or attachments, or really special. And I haven't actually used the ones for the physical body, but you can also use these, of course. Yeah.
It's interesting because so many different people seem to be getting different reactions. One woman said, I used a glyph for one thing and it was helping something else. And so then one woman, just about 3 days ago, I got an email from a woman and she said she had these glyphs on her. She was taking them with her fingers. She was getting them ready. And she had 3 of them to course correction, I think, and the one for the brain. And she had them between her fingers. She was going to put them on a picture of her brother. And she said, all of a sudden she felt a shift. And she thought, oh, what was that? And she said, well, should I wait? Should I see if there's anything more? But she said that was it. The shift just happened that quick. Yeah. And she wasn't sure what it was. But for her, that's the best way she described it, was a shift. And that.
No, sorry. I was just wondering, because if you talk about these shifts and we look at the world, I mean, things are really shifting in the world as well. It's a big chaos, basically. But I also kind of sense that we have got more, we are bigger in stepping up to and owning our power, basically. Do you see that as well? Can you tell a little bit more about that?
Yes, we need to do that. We need to recognize that we need to take control of our lives. I'm not telling anybody to not go to a doctor but if you have to go to a doctor or you feel you have to, and he prescribes medication, stop and think, What is your spirit telling you? What guidance are you getting inside? Don't let anybody push you around. You make your own decisions. And the same with food, I recommend trying to stay away from food that is full of chemical additives, artificial colors, artificial flavors, preservatives. That is all damaging to your body. And what's worse, it damages your children's body. And sometimes I hear so many people say, oh, why do we have all these children with cancer? And little tiny children, and it's kind of pitiful. You see their little bald heads because they make them get chemotherapy in this country. You don't have a choice. They'll take your child away if you won't let them in some states. And so if you raise your children as best you can with organic food holistically and stay away from sugar and candy. Sometimes parents nowadays, they think that children need to have something like cookies and candies once in a while. That's nonsense. If you take control and instead of giving them a piece of candy, slice up an apple and give them a slice of apple. Try your best to stay away from anything that is not healthy for your children, because they end up paying for it in one way or another later on. And
Right.
then people say, why is it happening? Well, that's why it's happening. The cancer rate here in the United States is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Here too, I think in Europe, a lot of people around me, even like the parents, especially parents of my friends, lots of them get cancer. Some die of cancer. I mean, it's a big thing, basically. Yeah.
Right. And these fast food places are moving into. They start over here with McDonald's and all that, and then they go to other countries, and the stuff they are serving is horrible. I mean, it is unreal. They say, and it's worse here in the United States. Actually, I hear that we get a list of the ingredients of a French fry in this country, but over in Europe, it's different because they don't allow some of the things in the European countries that they allow in this country. It's terrible, but it's true. And then a lot of your European countries are, they don't allow GMOs to be grown, genetically modified food. And here it's a big crop. It's a big crop, you know.
And Jean, what do you think needs most healing in this time and space?
I always tell people with the emotional healing, because sometimes they try to control people by fear. Fear is a big controller. And I don't care what it is. You know, you go to the doctor, oh, if you don't go to chemotherapy, you're going to die. I mean, what are they trying to? They're trying to control you with fear, you know. And the same with if your child doesn't get a vaccination, they're going to get sick, and you know. And so they're always trying to use fear. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is the use of fear. And the church is the same way. You know, there's always the devil lurking around the corner who's after you, you know, who's going to get you. And I was raised in a very controlling church that used fear. I mean, we were all going to go to hell if we didn't behave ourselves. And so stay out of fear. And when you hear something, do not believe everything you hear and read. Stop and think, is what I am hearing to inform me, or is it to control me? Okay? Is it to empower me, or is it to disempower me? Okay? When you're hearing information that's is part to take away your power, stop and think about it. We need to take back our power. Take control of your life. That's important.
And what would happen? What do you think would shift maybe in the world if we would start doing it in this way, really to start coming from this place of empowerment instead of controlling and fear?
Yeah, I think it's already happening to some people. The people are standing up more, especially the women. They're just kind of like, what's happening over here is a lot of the people in Hollywood, the women are now coming forward and telling stories of how they were sexually abused on their path up to the glory of being a famous actress. And a lot of stuff is coming out, and we feel like we're not going to take it anymore. And they're telling stories about exposing those who are corrupt. And so I think it's already happening because we need to speak out. We need to speak out. No, regardless, whatever it is, if you go to the doctor and he says your child has to have a vaccination, you say, wait a minute, here's the data. Get your act together and get your information together. If you're going to face a challenge from a doctor or from a minister, get your act together and say, wait a minute, here's the information I have. These how many children are died, and this is why, I'm saying no, whatever the situation is, or if the doctor's saying you have to have chemotherapy, your child has to have chemotherapy, then get your act together, have that information, and be ready to fight. Sometimes you over here, sometimes they're losing, but they're fighting it anyway. But there are situations here where older children have run away from home to avoid getting chemotherapy, and then come back a few years later and they're healed.
Yeah.
So it's happening. So we just need to speak out and stand up, and also be willing to run for office. I'm not sure how it is in your country, but women have been shy of that, but it's happening more and more. We have women running, we have transgender people running and winning. And so that's important. And they're beating the old timers who've been in these jobs. We've had in this country where people have had controlling for 30, 40 years. Been controlling the
going from this male energy more to this female energy.
Right.
And Jean, if you would connect this to what we're talking about today, like unleashing your true potential and basically awakening your soul's wisdom, achieving your dreams, what do you think this means for women particularly? Because that's really a fascinating thing. I think that women kind of start to change. And I mean, before it would be the man deciding, and then it would be women becoming half men, basically. And now there's this shift going on. And what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. And we'll raise daughters to be more assertive. I think that's important. We need to be more assertive. For years, we've been letting our husbands kind of tell us what to do. You're right. I mean, and I was one of them. And also girls who think, I need a man. No, you don't need a man. You need to be you first. You need to find out who you are and why you're here. If later on, when you are in control of your life and you have what you want, your career, then if you want a man or a partner, then that's fine. That's fine. But when you're growing up and when you're young, you don't need anybody. You need yourself. You need to empower yourself. You need to learn to stand on your own 2 feet and be who you came here to be.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah, I think so. And I love the thing, what actually resonates with me a lot is like you have to be assertive. I kind of still notice myself saying yes or being generous and kind. I mean, and these are all really nice things, but sometimes it's just important to stick with who you are and be very clear and assertive. And I think that's a different thing from being I think it's in the middle, because you have this being really generous and soft side, and you have the really hard side. But I think it's the middle part where it really connects, and where we can create this massive value, especially if we use it for ourselves. Basically, women using it for themselves. Do you think so?
Oh yes, I certainly do.
Yeah.
And I think hopefully, and I think we're getting more into, men are recognizing that, and men are more willing to spend more time taking care of the burden of some of taking care of the children or cooking meals. I wouldn't I wouldn't date a man even who expected me to cook him 3 meals a day. I wouldn't even.
That's done,
No.
Jean. We don't do that anymore. Oh. So Jean, thank you so much for your time. I think we actually, in a very short time, we touched all different subjects, and you also have a free gift for the audience. Can you share a little bit more about that?
It's a glyph to remove fear. And actually there's a couple glyphs there that are free. And let me show them my books real quick, okay?
Yes, of course. Go on. Yes.
And they are also on Amazon. I have 3 books now. I'm working on my 4th right now. Unlocking the Power of Glyphs is the first one. Whoops, that's it. Yeah, the first one.
That's the one I used.
Sacred Symbols of Light.
Yes.
And Symbols of the Dawn. Right.
So Jean, thank you so much for your time. And so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sigrid. And I send my blessings and my love out to everybody out there.
Thank you, Jean. And I want to thank the audience for listening. Thank you so much. And I will speak to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.